Is Wuthering Waves a better game than Genshin Impact? That's a heavily loaded question, and depending on how you answer it will most likely end with pitchforks being sent to your house. Now some people will probably say, well, if you actually look at the numbers, Genshin makes more money and has more players, so ha, WUWA nerd. Okay, go off, Hoyo #1 defender. Like, don't get me wrong, these stats are important, but when I'm personally trying to decide what game to play, I'm not like, herdy-der, this game makes more money, so I'm gonna play this one. I mean, like, if that was the case, literally everyone would be stuck playing Fortnite. For me personally, what I'm talking about are things like, is the game fun to play? Is the story good? Are the devs receptive to feedback? Things like that, which I believe to be essential to having a good game. Plus, using player count and revenue generated stats feels mostly like a way to shut down a productive conversation without actually considering the other person's side. So the time has come for me to answer the age-old question that's existed for... Wait, hold on a second. WUWA release date. Ah, got it. That's existed for about 9 months. Is Wuthering Waves better than Genshin Impact? When it comes to the story, it's a little hard to look at it objectively since Genshin has a rich history and lore that spans close to 5 years, while WUWA hasn't even existed for a fifth of that time. But I do think that Genshin overall has better storytelling. It has had years to become better and better, and I think Genshin does an overall good job at conveying the story they want to tell. Like the Fontaine Archon quest is one of my personal favorite storylines I've played in gaming, period. It was incredibly immersive, and while it still had some pacing issues, the story was super captivating and really helped us get attached to all the Fontaine characters. WUWA, on the other hand, I think still has a way to go. I think towards the end of the 1.x updates and with the start of Renacita, the story is starting to grab a hold of me more, but it definitely launched on the wrong foot with all the voice acting and other issues at the game's launch. My personal issue is why do most character story quests in WUWA turn into a freaking dating sim with Rover? Like, bro, am I playing Wuthering Waves or am I playing Dream Daddy? Overall, I think WUWA's story is on the right track and becoming a lot more immersive nowadays, but I think Genshin's is overall more captivating currently. When it comes to the new player experience, WUWA just does it better. I don't even think it's a competition between which game is more generous, to be honest. Off release, free-to-play players were given and able to earn a 5-star character, 84 standard pulls, 14 featured pulls, a free 5-star weapon, a free 4-star weapon, and a crap ton of Astory just from playing the game. They also gave the player a free 5-star character selector for the standard banner, and even more featured pulls, which is still technically valid until May 22nd of 2025, and if you played during the 1.2 update, you got the limited character Shang Li Yao for free from an event. Meanwhile, on Genshin's side,
同时，为了感谢旅行者们在过去1年里的支持与陪伴，我们还将通过游戏内邮件的方式为旅行者们奉上3个纠缠之源。
They gave us 3 featured pulls to celebrate the game's 3rd anniversary. And though we recently have also gotten a 5-star selector too, the game's been out for 4 years, dog, and this is the first free 5-star related thing they've let us have, so yeah, no, it's not even a competition for this. Even the WUWA Convene banners are more friendly for players than Genshin's Wishing banners. Genshin has 3 main banners, technically 4, but the Chronicle banner is more of a rerun type banner, and WUWA doesn't have one of those yet. Banners are the featured character, featured weapon, and standard banner. The featured character and the standard banner both have a max pity of 90 pulls, while the weapon banner has a max pity of 80 pulls. The featured character and weapon banner both have a not guaranteed phase, where for the featured character you have a 50% chance of getting the new character
I pulled a Chi-Chi.
or pulling a Chi-Chi, and for the weapon banner you get a 25% chance of getting a standard weapon or 75% chance of getting either featured weapon. So it evens out to around a 37.5% chance to get the weapon you specifically want. The standard banner has no guaranteed phase, but will randomly give you a 5-star weapon or 5-star character when you hit a 5-star pity. For WUWA, there are 4 main banners: the featured character, featured weapon, standard character, and the standard weapon banner. The max pity for all of them is 80 pulls, and while the featured character banner still has the same 50-50 as Genshin, all the rest of the banners are guaranteed, meaning that once you get a 5-star, it is guaranteed to be the one that you want. WUWA takes it a step further too, because for the standard weapon banner, players can focus which weapon they want to get, making it so that you receive the exact weapon you need. You aren't able to focus a character for the standard character banner though, but that's more understandable to a degree. The fact that WUWA banners need less pulls than Genshin banners, but also have less randomness in them, show to me that WUWA really cares about their new and existing player experiences and want to let players get the things that they want or need with more ease. As for the combat in both games is phenomenal. I find both the elemental reaction system in Genshin and the Forte Concerto system in WUWA to be incredibly fun. Both combat systems are complex and have a lot of depth, but in different ways. WUWA's combat feels more mechanically complex as you have to be able to time parries and dodges right, utilize outro and intro skills for buffs and switches, and perform attack combos to output HP and toughness damage. Genshin's combat system feels more mentally complex as you need to have a strong understanding of the reaction system and then be aware of how to buff and applicate the elements you're looking to do the reaction damage that you're looking to perform. I think that Genshin's reaction system is easier for newer players to understand and get the hang of, but WUWA's Forte Concerto system feels like it has more depth and intricacies that are super satisfying to learn. Both flow and function well, and I don't think there's really a clear better one over the other as combat is more of a personal preference, but for me, I'm currently heavily enjoying WUWA's combat the most, but Genshin's reaction system will always hold a special place in my heart too. So I think both are amazing. Exploration is also another form of gameplay that can be more subjective when it comes to fun, but I think when it comes to the conveniences of exploration, WUWA has offered a lot more than Genshin. In WUWA, you can run up and alongside walls, grapple for height and distance, ledge parkour over cliffs and buildings, and have unlimited running stamina when you are not in combat. With the addition of Renacita, you can now also fly, which has been one of my favorite things to do in any gacha game period. But the big thing that makes this exploration so convenient is that any character in the game can utilize these mechanics. They're not hidden behind a character's special ability or an animal. All your favorite characters can do these mechanics, meanwhile in Genshin the exploration isn't as convenient. In Notland, sure, there are animals that you can indwell to grapple, fly, swim, and more, but they often feel clunky and not as fluid when compared to the exploration abilities hidden behind 5-star characters. Plus, while this isn't a super big deal, there is a phlogiston bar you have to constantly recharge if you are using these exploration mechanics for extended periods of time, which affects both the animals and the characters. Even outside Notland, it feels like you need specific characters to be able to travel and explore things quicker or more conveniently, which is unfortunate. WUWA also has made it easier to find and track stuff when you're exploring, making it easier to do puzzles and find specific materials. Although Genshin has started to do this too, WUWA did it first, which is insane for a game with less than a quarter of Genshin's lifespan, and I think WUWA's tracking is more convenient because, again, things like tracking the exact locations of regional specialties are not locked behind characters. This isn't me saying that Genshin's exploration is bad. I personally do enjoy Genshin still, but I feel that giving your players more options for convenience will never not be a bad decision. It lets people who otherwise thought this aspect of the game to be either too time-consuming or annoying as something that is now more manageable and lets people enjoy the game in its entirety more. For echoes and artifacts, I think both games could use a little bit of help, not gonna lie. In WUWA, you need level up materials to level up your echoes, and then you need a separate material to roll the substats for your echoes. You aren't able to salvage your unwanted echoes for materials, and leveling up echoes takes a lot of materials to do so. However, the trade-off is that most enemies you fight have a chance to drop echoes both in tacit fields and in the regular overworld, giving you more opportunities to find the echoes that you need. You're also given echo boxes that sometimes allow you to pull echoes of a specific set and type. The Echo Bank system allows you to guarantee the rarity and even forces bosses to drop their echoes a specific number of times a week, and while you can't discard echoes from materials, you can merge a bunch of them to get other echoes, giving you at least some use for the ones that you don't need. In Genshin, artifacts are a lot easier and don't require as much money or materials to level up, making it easier to roll on a bunch of them at a time. Strongbox makes it so that you can take your bad artifacts and turn them into the artifact set that you need, and you can salvage any rarity of artifacts for artifact level materials. There's also the artifact transmuter that allows you to create a specific 5-star artifact with the main stats and 2 substats of your choosing. However, the artifact transmuter requires a crap load of elixirs for specific artifacts and takes a month and a half to reset. You also can't mark bad artifacts for discard. I still don't know why we don't have this in the game. Literally every other gacha game does this. Hell, even Hoyo's other gacha games do this. Why can't we do this in Genshin? And while you technically can get artifacts from chests, the sets you usually need have to be farmed from a domain, or you have to do endgame modes like Abyss to be able to get the boxes that you need to choose artifacts from a specific set. I think both have huge flaws in their own ways and need some sort of system to guarantee not just the drop of an artifact, but also some of the stat rolls as well, so that we don't end up farming the same place for like 8 months. I'm looking at you, Arlecchino Domain. When it comes to endgame content, both games are lacking here for sure. Genshin, in its almost 5 years of being released, currently only has 2 endgame modes, Spiral Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. There is also local legends, which are special hard mini bosses found around certain regions, but the rewards for defeating these bosses are typically achievement based, so that's why I'm not including them here. Abyss falls into the category of being a test of how well built your characters are, as the enemies in this mode are meant to be difficult to defeat, like high level bosses and elite enemies. Theater falls into the line of seeing how many characters you have that are built. The quality of your builds isn't as important as Abyss, since the enemies here aren't as difficult, but the mode really checks to see if you have a wide assortment of characters to use. For me, Abyss was last fun maybe like 3 years ago, but because of the lack of any updates or changes to this mode, it's just a way for me to get my monthly premiums. Theater is a mode I actually really like the concept of, but I think is really poorly implemented. To full start Theater requires not only a large amount of characters to be built, but a large amount of characters of each element to be built, since the mode will restrict characters based on a few random elements each month. The game does provide the character with free to use characters for a few characters, but the builds on these characters are usually pretty ass and cannot be customized. The mode has a really cool concept, but I think really needs to open the barrier of entry slightly because it feels more like a grind check rather than a fun game mode. WUWA has 2 official endgame modes with Tower of Adversity and the new Whimpering Waste. Tower of Adversity is basically the same as Genshin's Abyss with the same concept of a few fights against hard enemies on a time limit, while Whimpering Waste is basically a defeat as many enemies as fast as possible type of mode. The enemies in Whimpering Waste aren't as hard as the ones in Tower of Adversity, but there are a lot of ways that you have to complete in order to get full points. Tower of Adversity, I basically have the same complaints as Genshin's Abyss, with the addition of requiring 3 functional teams to do so. I know there are going to be dungeon main number 21 out there telling me I soloed this boss with just dungeon with one hand on my mouse and the other hand on my drink. And while fair play to you, I think that considering the amount of time it takes to build a character in this game, requiring 3 functional teams is a bit much. I don't feel as tired of Tower as I do with Abyss, but that's probably because I haven't done it for like 4 years straight yet. Whimpering Waste, bar the name, I think is actually a really fun game mode. I think that it has a bar of entry that feels just right for an endgame mode, and the mechanics are really fun, basically just seeing how fast you can defeat as many enemies as possible, and also being able to choose certain buffs to do so. Overall, I'm really enjoying the game mode, and I think it's been implemented pretty well. WUWA also has 2 pseudo endgame modes with NieR Theater and Tactical Holograms. NieR is basically a mode that lets players enjoy really broken versions of their characters by giving them super strong buffs, and basically is a mode that lets a free-to-play see what a whale sees on a daily basis, and lets whales see what becoming Sephiroth of a game is like. The mode doesn't require characters or their weapons to be leveled up, but it does require players to have a decent echo build on them, which is why I'm considering this as a pseudo endgame mode. NieR is so much fun and is honestly one of my favorite game modes to play. I think letting players be able to see how absolutely busted their characters can be is actually super sick to do and super fun to play. Holograms are basically a mode where you fight a boss at its absolute strongest. The boss will be incredibly buff and show attacks that you typically wouldn't see in a regular boss fight. They are also pretty difficult to defeat, requiring the absolute best out of your characters, but the rewards from this mode are also only a one-time claim, which is why this mode is also being considered as pseudo endgame. Both games really need to work on their endgame modes, but I have more hope with WUWA's considering that this game already has the same amount of official endgame modes as WUWA, as well as an additional 2 modes that could sort of be considered for endgame as well. It's well known fact that Genshin doesn't really care about endgame content in the fear of making the game too complicated, and WUWA has shown to me that they at least care about the longevity of the game and want people to have content to play once they're in the endgame. So Whimpering Waste Reset just released and the feedback has been loud. I haven't played it yet, but the general argument is that the token buffs are not universal enough and are too specific to a few characters, and that the AI is super wonky. Kuro responded super fast, giving an apology and AD Asterite as compensation within a day of feedback. My thoughts on this is that I think there should always be 1 or 2 gold tokens available of universal usage, because I don't want this mode to turn into what Star Rail Endgame has looked like. I'll also have better thoughts on the AI once I actually try them, which is actually happening now live on stream, so feel free to pop by to hear my thoughts on the reset. I saw people mention that casuals should be able to get all the rewards from endgame modes, and it might be a controversial take, but I don't think casuals should be able to get all the endgame rewards if they don't put in the effort to do so. Endgame to me means that a player has a strong understanding of the game mechanics, has their characters built decently well, and can play decently too. Whether or not this reset is difficult along the lines of BS is something I'll see soon, but I hold the opinion that endgame is meant to be hard and is not a mode to attempt when you are early in the game. Lastly, I want to talk about the developers of each game. Obviously, these games wouldn't exist without them, and seeing the way they act towards the players and how well they take criticism is a good way to foresee the way the game will be handled in the future. In Genshin, straight up, the treatment the players have gotten hasn't been the greatest. A lot of quality of life things we've asked for have legit either taken years to appear or still aren't even in the game. Like sure, we started to get more stuff like better spawns for repeating domains, faster artifact leveling, and encounter points for commissions, but a lot of these changes have only come in the last couple of months, and Genshin has been out for years. It isn't like these changes are super new too. They have been requested features since basically year one, and it's taken Genshin 4 years to implement. And there are still things they haven't implemented too, like a resin overcap system and artifact loadouts. And if you ever want to see how much they care about the community, just think back to the 3rd year anniversary rewards. In WUWA, not only have the devs constantly expressed how important it is for them to hear back from the players, but they are also showing this in their actions with the changes they are making to the game. Farming taking too long? Oh, how about being able to teleport to every tacit suppression or boss challenge there is on the map, and being able to spend double the wave points for double rewards. Having trouble finding everything for exploration progress? Here's a list of all the things you are missing and their locations for each region area. Don't want to switch to a gun character for a puzzle? Here's a tool that you can use that lets you complete the puzzle without having to change your character. Like the list goes on, and even stuff that Genshin players have been asking for years is in WUWA, with things like better echo filters for sorting, excess wave plate storage, and the big one, echo loadouts. With how communicative the WUWA devs have been alongside all these player optimization features, and even just the fact that trying to pull weapons and characters in this game isn't super convoluted, it just shows to me that the WUWA devs really think of Wuthering Waves as a game before they think of it as a gacha game. I'm not here to say the Genshin devs are bad, nor do I want shit thrown their way, but after years of feeling as if our input has been invalid or ignored in Genshin, it's really nice to see devs actually listen to players for a change, and if the WUWA devs keep this up, then I think we got exciting things coming up in WUWA's future. So with all this info, all these things that I've blathered on about for that last little bit, is Wuthering Waves better than Genshin Impact? Currently, no, I don't think so, or at the very least it's not there yet. Genshin I think has a proven longevity that makes it hard to beat, and as much as it has flaws and as much as I've given it shit in this video, the game is still beautiful to walk through, the story is still done well, and it is still fun to play. WUWA on the other hand, while it had a rocky start at launch, currently has a beautiful baseline for their game, but I think needs more time under its belt to show that the positive change they have made aren't short term. That being said, give it a few years. Hell, maybe just give it a single year, and I think there is a chance we may be saying something different instead. Wuthering Waves is an incredible game. Genshin Impact is also an amazing game, and I hope that in the coming years we get to really see both of these games blossom into the amazing potential we can see both of them having today. Thanks for watching. Well, that was a lot. I appreciate y'all's patience and time for this video. It took a while to get the script written up, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Feel free to let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments, whether y'all think WUWA or Genshin is better, or anything about the video too. Any feedback is greatly appreciated for me to make these videos better. And if y'all want more of my content, feel free to check me out on Twitch if you want to interact and talk with me live, or TikTok if you want short form content from me from there, or just subscribe here as well. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Hopefully the next one doesn't take as long, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.